Well, a couple weeks ago, my wife and I were able to get away for a night, and we did a little staycation. We got a hotel in St. Paul, and it was a little bit of a fancier hotel than like what we had would normally do. And so when we got out there, we pulled up, and the first thing we noticed that they don't really have a parking lot; they have just valet parking. Which is already way fancier than like what I'm used to. Okay, I've done valet parking maybe 2 times in my life, maybe 3. And so we pull up, and I'm like, well, do we get out of the car? Do you get out? Do we go find them? Do they find, like, what do we do here? It felt really out of place. So she kind of gets out of the car, and she starts kind of walking into the building to look for, I don't know, valet, whatever that means. And I look around, and I quickly realize, like, this place is a little bit fancier than even what I had anticipated. We pull up in our Hyundai Elantra, this little putt-putt kind of car, and I look around, and there's like a BMW parked behind us and a Tesla parked in front of us. It's like, okay, there's different people here. Okay. And I look at, well, the guy gets out of the Tesla is, probably a businessman wearing like a suit, and he gets out on his phone and walks out and like looks really dressed to the nines, like, okay. The couple behind us is probably like a retired couple. They too come out, she's wearing a full dress, and he's looking nice, really sharp. I'm like, oh boy, and I remember my wife comes out, and I look at myself, and we're like in sweatpants. I was like, okay, all right, okay, so we're off to a good start at this fancy place. And so my wife comes out, and the valet comes out, and I step out, and he goes, hi, Mr. Montague, welcome, we're so glad, can I park your car for you? I was like, well, great, yeah, that's wonderful. Like, well, that's no problem, you can just go right inside the door here, and just super gracious, this is just young valet. We walk inside the door, and there, right inside the door is the valet booth, okay? And so there's probably 3 or 4 of these young guys, maybe in their early 20s, who are all the valets there. And they go, Mr. and Mrs. Montague, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. You can check in right over here at the host stand. I'm like, wow, okay. And so we walk up, and they get us checked in, and like, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Montague, is this your first time here? Yes, it is. How could you tell? Yeah, this is our first time here. Like, oh, well, wonderful. We're so glad that you're here. There's refreshments right around the corner. Let me get you checked in. And they hand us our, room key, and we're just about ready to turn and go. And the guy behind the desk goes, oh, wait. And he pulls something out and kind of writes on it a little bit. And he goes, here, this is for you guys just in the morning. It's free breakfast on us. Welcome. We're so glad that you're staying with us. Okay, that's really nice. And so we take those, and we drop all our stuff up in our room, and we come back down. It's like beautiful outside. So we're going to go for a walk, and we go down. We're walking out the front door, and again the valet is, Mr. and Mrs. Montague, welcome. We're so glad that you guys are here. And we walk out. We're like, yeah, hey guys. And we walk out, and we step outside, and we're like, okay, do we want to go this way or? We have no idea where we are. We're like, the river's kind of down that way. Maybe we just go that way? I don't know. We take about 10 steps, and sure enough, right out the front door, one of these valets runs and chases us down. Mr. and Mrs. Montague, are you guys going for a walk? Yes, we are. It's like, oh, well, that's wonderful. Well, hey, if I could, let me give you a little direction. If you guys are looking for, just kind of a nice, quiet walk down by the river, something, it's a beautiful walk. If you could just go down this way, you take the stairs down, they'll bring you right down to the river. Go onto your left first, but then, take it to the right. It's going to be a beautiful walk. If you guys are looking for more for bars and shops, you're going to want to take a right up here. There's all kinds of really fun stuff that way. Probably don't go to the left. It's all business stuff down there. You don't need to go down there. And like, wow, thank you. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, we actually wanted to go down by the river. It's like, oh, well, just go this way. You're going to love it. I'm like, okay, great. So we went on this walk, and sure enough, we loved it. It was beautiful. It was a little chilly out, so we had our jackets. But we went on this walk, and it was beautiful. And we came back, and we walk right in the front door, and here's this little group of valets. And they see us come in. Mr. and Mrs. Montague. How was the walk? We're like, it was great. It was beautiful. Thank you for all your help. And all these young guys are like, oh, awesome, that's so good. They're like, oh, but listen, if you need any help with dinner plans or anything like that, you just let us know. We're like, wow. And every time we left, every time we came back, it was the same greeting. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Montague, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. Welcome back. How was dinner? It was so funny because, listen, I'm not dumb here, okay? I understand that's what these guys are getting paid to do, right? I get that, okay? I understand that this is their job. And I've also been to plenty of other hotels where that is not the welcome you receive. You see, it was what I noticed about these young guys, that these young guys, they had no idea who Abby and I were, right? And clearly by outward appearances, we didn't belong there, right? We were not their usual fancy people that they get. And yet, regardless of all of that, they made sure to let us know that we were welcome there, right? That regardless of who we were and who we were not, they made sure that we knew we were welcomed and that we belonged. I want you to keep that in mind, the picture of those valets, as we go into what we're going to talk about today. Today, we actually are going to wrap up our conversation, our series. We've been going through a study of the book of James. And this has been such a fun look at this particular book in the Bible. And the very first week, if you missed it, if you weren't here for this, Pastor Brendan set this up perfectly about what this book of James, how we need to be reading this. Because oftentimes we'll read the book of James, and how it can read is almost like a to-do list, right? Hey, if you call yourself a Christian, you better be doing all of these things. Like, that's kind of how it can feel sometimes. And that is not at all how we're supposed to be reading this book. Like, the whole understanding is, like, the background of this book is this understanding that God has already leaned into each and every one of us. And we call that grace. That God leans in. He's extended his grace, his forgiveness. He extends his love. He extends his mercy, his life to each and every one of us. But that's already been done, right? And our job is to simply receive that. And once we've received God's leaning in, we've received that grace, we now are invited to lean back in. To lean back into God. And that's what the book of James is all about. It's about what it can look like when you choose to step into that invitation, to lean back in to God. And the result of leaning back in is joy. Even when it's hard, even when it's difficult, even when life kind of sucks. When we choose to lean back in, the result is joy. Because now you're partnering with God. So if you are new to this conversation, if you've missed the last number of weeks, I want to invite you, go back, watch a couple of these messages. It really was a fun dive into this book of James. And today, we are going to wrap up the final 2 verses in this book. And I want you to keep that picture of the valets in your mind as we go through this together, okay? So let's read these last 2 verses. Here it is, James 5, verses 19 through 20. It says this. It says, "My brothers and sisters, if one of you should wander from the truth, and someone should bring that person back, remember this. Whoever turns a sinner from the error of their way will save them from death and cover a multitude of sins." It's such a powerful passage. He says if you were to turn someone from the error of their ways, you save them from death. Now, not like a physical death, right, but the spiritual death. The walking away from life and into death, right? The wandering. And it would cover a multitude of sins. That when somebody is walking away from God, right, you help them to turn back around and face the Lord again. And what is God already doing? He's leaning in, right? His grace is already right there. And when you receive that, it covers a multitude of sins, right? That when Jesus died, he died for every sin, past, present, future, all of it. And so when you turn and you receive that grace, you're covering a multitude of sins, right? Now, when I read this verse, listen, I'm not one to try to correct the Bible, okay? We ain't doing that. But I'm reading this and I'm like, James, okay, what he says is, if one of you should wander, and I'm reading it kind of going, well, he could have also said, when one of you wanders, because that's what we do, right? I mean, we literally just saying that, right? Prone to wander. That's what we are prone to do, because we are human beings. We are prone to wander from the truth. And we do this. And quite frankly, I don't care how long you've been following Jesus, we all wander. Every one of us. I wander. Each of us is prone to wandering, right? We get sucked into the vortex of hatred that we call the news, right? We get lost scrolling the most recent conspiracy theories on Facebook and TikTok. We just get absorbed by it, and we wander from the truth. All right, we choose to people please instead of doing the difficult thing that might upset a few people. And so we wander from the truth, right? We choose selfish instead of humble. We choose what's easy instead of being disciplined. Right? We are all prone to wander. And we all do this, is that when we wander, we also try to justify it. right? Well, it's just one time. It's not that big of a deal, right? This is just what I do with my buddies on Friday, right? We justify it. It's not hurting anyone, right? We're just having some fun. It's not a big deal. This is just how I'm relieving some stress. It's really not that big of a deal, right? We justify our wandering. That we do stuff that we know that we shouldn't be doing, but we choose it anyways. And we justify it, and we make excuses. And what happens is, without us maybe even making the calculations, without even like recognizing that we're doing this, is that each time we choose to wander. And each time we choose to justify that wandering, right? Each time we make a little excuse, and we say, it's not that big of a deal. Each time we do that, what we're also doing is casting a vote for the kind of person that we're going to become. You see, what I know is that nobody just wakes up one morning and decides to ruin their life, right? Nobody just, gets up on a Tuesday morning and goes, you know what? I think I'm going to be an alcoholic today. Right? That's not real life. No, nobody just wakes up and goes, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to adopt some racist ideology. That sounds really fun today. Let's do that. You know what? I'm going to just become a really bitter and hateful person today. Right? That's not how this works. You see, what happens is we make these choices to wander. Sometimes we experience things and how we choose to respond to those experiences. We say, it's just not that big of a deal. I deserve this. And we make these choices, and we step away from the truth, and then we step away from the truth, and we step away from the truth. And eventually, over time, we can see that we've wandered from the truth and become someone that we never intended to become. That each of us wanders. That's what we do. I was 12 years old. I was 12 years old the first time I saw adult content that I had no business seeing. 12 years old. I was 26 before I ever told a soul. 14 years of choosing, of excusing, of wandering from the truth. 14 years until I finally recognized that I had become someone that I never intended to become. My brothers and sisters, if one of you should wander from the truth and someone should bring that person back, remember this. Whoever turns a sinner from the error of their way will save them from death and cover a multitude of sins. At 26 years old, I was finally sitting with a group of guys that I had been doing life with, right? I've been sharing life with them. These were my people. This was my small group of people. We studied the Bible together. We prayed for each other. We encouraged each other. We went to Twins games together. This was my gang. These were my people. And it wasn't until I was 26 years old until I finally felt the nudge of going, Brian, you're not the person you've wanted to become. You gotta share this. And so I shared with them. I shared my heart, and it was hard and embarrassing, and they sat and they listened, and do you know how they responded? They responded like these valets. They welcomed me back. They forgave me. They prayed for me. They encouraged me. They helped me get more people to open up with, and people who could have my back and support me. And that's what they did. That this group of people became like an army that got in the trenches with me and helped me heal. Right? And here's the deal. There were consequences. The journey was not easy, right? It wasn't like this, hey, perfect, everything's great and wonderful. That's not how this goes, right? I mean, I was wandering for 14 years. I had 14 years of habits to undo and a whole lifetime of new decisions to start making. But I had an army of welcomers who rallied around me. An army of people who turned me from the error of my ways, who saved me from death, who covered a multitude of sins. That I had a whole army of people who became like Jesus to me. You see, I knew Jesus. I loved Jesus. I'd heard from Jesus. I mean, all the things, but there's just something different when an actual person puts on the love of Jesus and extends that to you. It's just something different. And that's who I had in my corner. And you see, now I've spent the last 14 years of my life learning how to become like them. Learning how to become like these valets. The last 14 years, I've been learning how to become like Jesus, to become the welcomer. Looking for those who are wandering. And becoming like what this verse is telling us to do. What the invitation is that James is extending to each of us, to become the welcomer to those who are wandering. To start making those choices to actually become someone that looks more and more like Jesus. And so now over these last 14 years, I've had an opportunity after opportunity to become the welcomer. A number of years ago, I was leading in the youth ministry, and I had a high school student who'd never been to church before. The previous week, it was her first time ever stepping foot in a church. She comes back the second week, and I said, "Hi, so-and-so, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Like, how was your week?" And she goes, "It was awful." I said, "I'm so sorry. What happened?" "I was suspended for smoking pot." And she kind of stops and goes, "I don't know why I just shared that." I laughed a little bit, and it's like, "No, I'm so sorry that happened. Like, that stinks." Like, yeah. And she goes, "Yeah, I guess I hadn't shared that with anybody. I don't know. Something about this place, it just feels like home." The wanderer was welcomed. A buddy of mine reached out who used to follow Jesus, and he just wasn't anymore, and he said, "Hey, can we just chat?" I said, "Yeah, of course, man. What's up?" And he started to share a little bit of just how his life didn't have much meaning anymore. He didn't find any hope. And he said, "Brian, for as long as I've known you, you've always just been filled with hope, and I don't get it. You always say that it's Jesus, and I don't get it. Help me understand." And we got to have this beautiful conversation where here he was, a wanderer, recognizing that he was wandering, and he felt comfortable and safe enough to just ask questions and hear my story. And we walked together. And he experienced what it was like to have somebody who would welcome him. Another buddy of mine made some choices that he walked away from his family and from his kids and walked away from Jesus. And so I reached out to him. I said, "Hey, can we grab dinner, man? I just want to check in with you. It seems like you got a lot going on." And he agreed and said, "Great, okay, yeah, let's get together." And so the morning before I'm going to go have dinner with him, I get all these texts from a bunch of other people, and they're like, he said, "Yes? Like, you're getting dinner with them?" He said, "No to all of us." I was like, "Okay, that's weird." Like, okay. So we went and got dinner, and I just said, "Dude, tell me, man, what's going on? Like, how are you doing?" And he shared this heartbreaking story of just what he'd been going through and how he just felt like he was kind of phoning it in and, just being somebody he never felt like he really was. And we got to the end of this kind of conversation. I said, "Listen, man, I want you to know, my heart is breaking for you. I can't get behind a lot of the choices that you're making. And my hope is that you would come to know the Jesus that I know. I want you, I'm going to be praying that for you. But whether you decide to follow Jesus or not, man, I just want you to know I'm always going to be cheering for you because I love you." And so the conversation kind of wrapped up, and I just could not help myself. Before we left, I said, "I got to ask, man, how come, you knew we were going to have this conversation. How come you agreed to meet up?" And just without missing a beat, he goes, "Brian, I knew I could be honest with you without feeling judged." I was like, okay. The wanderer felt like he could be welcomed. You see, these last 14 years, I've gotten to experience what these two verses in James are trying to invite us into. I've experienced what it's like to be a wanderer, having encountered people who welcomed me back. And I've gotten to experience what it was like to become the welcomer, with arms open and invite others back. Do I do it perfectly? Of course not. Oh my gosh, not even close. But what I know is that I was once a wanderer, and the welcomers brought me home. And now I am a welcomer. It's who I am. And I get to welcome wanderers home. That's what I get to do. See, the Bible makes it clear, like the way of Jesus is narrow, right? Like what Jesus invites us into, it's not like, hey, just go nuts and do whatever you want. Like the way of Jesus is real narrow. But the front door to Jesus is big and wide open. And I want to be the first person to welcome every person into that door. I want to be the first person to meet every single person and say, listen, like with me, like and my people, with my tribe, like you'll never have to believe to belong with me. And you certainly will never have to try to behave before you start believing. Like, listen, you bring all of who you are just as you are. You're welcome here. That's who I want to be. And that's who I'm becoming. Right? I'm just going to do my best to love you regardless of where you stand. I'm not going to try to pick and choose who I should or shouldn't welcome. I'm going to just try to welcome you the way Jesus welcomed me. Because that is how he welcomes you. I am the welcomer now. It's who I am. And it's who I'm continuing to become. How about you? My brothers and sisters, if one of you should wander from the truth and someone should bring that person back, remember this. Whoever turns a sinner from the error of their way will save them from death and cover a multitude of sins. It's kind of this like oddly abrupt ending to the book of James, right? There's no like, hey, and say hi to so-and-so. Make sure you let people know, like, we greet them. Hey, love and peace, goodbye. Like, there's none of that. But I think what James is doing is he's trying to make this clear landing point of saying, hey, everything that we've talked about, all of this instruction of leaning back into God, all of this, it all comes back to an absolute singular invitation for each and every person who chooses to follow Jesus. But if you choose to follow him and you're ready to lean back, the invitation is that you and I would care for and we would see and we'd step in with anyone and everyone who has wandered. With anyone, that we would have a heart for people who don't yet know Jesus or aren't following Jesus, and that you and I would become like Jesus, the welcomer to each and every person. That's the invitation of James. And so as we close today, as we close the book of James together for at least this season, I want to extend two simple invitations to each and every one of you. The first is to become the welcomer. Become the welcomer. That if you are here and you have followed Jesus, I want to invite you to become like him and become the welcomer. At Bridgewood, our mission is to build a safe place to be with and become like Jesus. And that building a safe place is not about like, ooh, we're building a building that is really safe for people. Like, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being safe people. That regardless of where we are a safe place to the people around us. And if we're going to choose to step into that space, it requires a daily surrendering of ourselves to be with Jesus so that we could become like Jesus. It's going to require us to make choices, to put an end to the wandering, right? To stop justifying the wandering and to start moving in the direction of Jesus, to start saying, okay, Lord, I want to be more like you. Help me know more of you. Become the welcomer. And for those who don't know Jesus, that you would step into that space to say, hey, with me, there's no judgment here. I know I can't change a person, but Jesus can, because he's changed me and he's still doing it. Become the welcomer. My second invitation is for those of us who would say, yeah, we're the wanderer. If that's you, my invitation is simply to come back home. Come home. that maybe once upon a time you said yes to following Jesus, but if you're honest, you've wandered. That's just where you've been. Hey, listen, I do it too. I've been there. And if that's you this morning, I want to say, come back home. And Jesus is ready for you. He's waiting for you with arms wide open. He has leaned in. He says, my grace, my forgiveness, my life, my love, it's yours. You just got to receive it. And if you've never followed Jesus before, then I want to invite you to say, hey, come home. You are welcome here just as you are. You don't got to get it all figured out before you step into a space with Jesus. He loves you right where you're at, just like you're at. And he wants to help walk with you into that space of healing. And maybe you're here and you've started following Jesus, but maybe you've never been baptized. And maybe for you, that's the next step that you need to take. And regardless of where you're at, if you are here and you're going, yeah, if I can just be really honest, I'm the wanderer, then this morning I want to say, come home. As we close, I want to lead us in a very simple prayer. A prayer for those of us who would say, yeah, we're the wanderers. And the prayer is simply, Jesus, I give you my life. You're going to have all sorts of other conversations with him, but maybe that's the first one. It's, Jesus, I give you my life. I need to come home. So if that's you this morning, I want to invite you to pray that prayer. So let's close, and I want to pray that over you as we go into worship. Jesus, I give you my life. Thank you that you take a wandering heart like mine and you welcome me back. Jesus, thank you that you're not counting my sins against me, but that you've leaned in. You don't just forgive me. You don't just say the past is gone. But Lord, you paint a road to such a better future. I thank you for the life that you've given me. I thank you for the life that you're going to continue to pour into me. Jesus, help us to become like you, to become the welcomer, to become like those valets, that regardless of who people are and where they're at, that we would step into that space of people being welcomed, because that's the space that you've stepped into with us. Help us to become like you, Jesus, that as people encounter us, they encounter you. And through that, Jesus, they would have a relationship with you. Lord, this morning we give you our hearts. We say thank you. In Jesus' name.